Check 1, 2. Cool. Okay. Cool.
Your sound card works perfectly.
Rightio. Let's get this thing underway then, I guess. Bear with me, I'm just getting everything set up. Rightio. Rightio. So that's everything all ready to go. So, basic explanation of what I'm doing here. Actually, what I might do, apologies for the camera moving, I'm gonna actually stick this camera up on the bench. So this should give you a bit of a better view of what I'm doing. Well, that's terrible, but that'll do. So, first task of the night is to pull the motherboard, processor and RAM and graphics card out of this case. So this is just a generic rack mount case that I've had kicking about. It's a 5RU case, which is a little bit impractical, but it's what I had. It's actually formerly a security system case. So the plan for this system, this was running a Minecraft server. I've now virtualized that Minecraft server. But the plan for this motherboard, processor and RAM is to put it to some other use. I haven't really decided what yet, but I'm going to be taking half the RAM out of this and putting it into another motherboard just to give it a little bit more RAM. But we'll get to that once that machine is ready to be put in. First, get this machine out. So this is a Ryzen 7 1700. It's got 32 gig of RAM on a MSI B550 motherboard. I'm actually probably going to put this motherboard into my main system at some point soon, once I get a new processor for my main system. Just probably a 5900X. And the board is not anything amazing, but it's definitely not a bad board, considering what I paid for it. That's a And to be honest, it'll be perfectly fine for my main system. It has enough USB ports for what I need. Okay, is that everything? What did I miss? Screw that. Get in there. So how are we all tonight? All of the 2 viewers, one of which is me. So that one we'll find out shortly. Anyway, so that's pretty much all that's coming out of this machine at the moment. So we can move this one off to the side for the moment. So, this system here is a Ryzen 7 2700X. So, a reasonable jump in performance. This case is getting repurposed. Oh, not the case, the computer in it is getting repurposed. So the plan for this system is to go into that rack mount case I had up here before. Oh yeah. So you can probably see beside me what we're going to get to once we've finished swapping cases around for the Ryzen servers. So this server here is a Ryzen 2700X. It was running ESX and running various games. There was the IL-2 Great Battle series. Was running a beta server and a... what was the other one? It was a Flying Circus server. It was also running a few other little bits and bobs. I think it was running Valheim and World of Warcraft private server. So I've since actually moved those to one of the servers off to the side here, which we will get to soon enough. Just while I'm doing this, so a lot of the games will stay on that other server. There are a couple that will get moved. Did I miss anything? Put that up there for the moment. Right, what else needs to come out of here? I need the hard drives. And probably the SATA cables as well. So, IL-2 Great Battles is very single thread CPU dependent, maybe? I don't know if that's the right word, but it's very... the faster IPC, single-threaded IPC that your processor has, the better it runs. The more AI you can have, yeah, just overall, it's what you want. A lot of the larger IL-2 servers run, things like formerly i9 9900Ks, 10900Ks, 11900Ks, that kind of processor. I've always preferred to run the Ryzen processors for it because their larger cache seems to also help quite significantly. Also doesn't mind having a lot of fast RAM in it as well, but Rightio. Now we have this case back up. So. Rightio. Now, stick the beast in. See what screws are going to. I am very lukewarm about it. There's probably some good things coming, but there's just some really odd things going on, and the development release that we got our hands on, that so that's gonna. Everyone. The development release that was leaked, it was... How can I say it? I don't think we'll see the same performance in that build as we would the release build. So I believe that release is... well, it's not a 2.0 requirement, it's a 1.2 requirement. 2.0 is recommended. According to the official information. You know, once the cat was out of the bag, once the cat was out of the bag, they you know, came out and actually did a presentation on it and gave us some more info. Talked about everything except for the technical things, because of course I fucking did. Okay, so that's that. That's still... Okay, so that one's not going to line up. What else we got? It's going to be a few missing screws, but yeah, there's definitely some odd choices they've made in it, and I'm very lukewarm about it. It's, from what I've seen, they're fucking up the interface even more by trying to convince everyone that they're Mac OS, which frankly doesn't interest me. If I wanted to use Mac OS, I'd fire up my Mac, which funnily enough is what I'm reading Stream Chat on. Well, one of my Macs anyway. It's Mac-like with the really shit interface design they've had since Windows 8 onwards. They've just been continuously trying to remove borders between icons and programs, so it's just... So you can't clearly define, okay, this is this program, this is that program. It's just fucking messy. I don't like it. Well, I'm of mixed opinion about that particular thing too, because it's yeah, did you hear how they're actually delivering the Android apps? Through a Microsoft Store link to the Amazon Android store. Yeah. Which is... Now, there was a post on Twitter and... Fuck it. I was hoping that wouldn't be the case. Damn. Well, actually, before I get too annoyed, where is the lid? Just in case it's... I mean, I know it's not going to fit, but... Yeah, that's not going to fit. Fuck it. What am I going to do about that? Well... Okay, so... Looks like I have to take the good cooler off this. Put a not so good cooler on. Okay, yeah, so there was someone tweeted at them, at one of the Microsoft guys, and says, hey, can we load apps just through the APK installers? And they responded with a yes with an exclamation mark. So yeah, well, that is, but yeah, it's just I'm seeing nothing in Windows 10 that's making me want to jump onto it. It's another Microsoft operating system, and that's, yeah, exactly. It's just basically a reskin. I mean, I'm going to run it. That's not a question. It's just a it's that sort of that announcement has made me question about whether I'll be able to whether I can pass through the main video adapter in Linux to the, as in the one it's using for the desktop, pass that through to a VM yet. Because if I can pass the active video card through to a VM, then I'm not going to go to Windows 11 on my main machine. I'm gonna start running Linux and just run everything that I need to run in Windows on virtual machines, because that frankly floats my goat more. So as a desktop operating system, I actually find Linux to be far more enjoyable. However, I mainly use my desktop to play games, and well, well, you know what games are like. You know, run Windows, peasant. I'm gonna get copyright struck for this background music. Maybe. Well, we'll see. Yep. Did you see that there was someone that was remaking all the levels for GoldenEye in the Far Cry engine, in the Far Cry mission editor or level editor? That got fucking yeeted, didn't it? It's shit like that that makes me wish that someone had invented a way to punch someone in the mouth over the internet. So Clint, did you play your way through Cyberpunk yet? Being a mainly console peasant, I assume you haven't. Well, I've been playing it extensively on PC lately, and the only issues I've had with it were initially I was having random crashes that turned out to be the video memory on my card overheating, and I just had to replace the thermal pads on it. So it wasn't actually a game issue. It was just a video card issue, which was only became a problem at the time I started trying to play Cyberpunk. I mean, at first I thought it was just Cyberpunk being Cyberpunk, but then it started happening in other games too, and especially in VR. So that was that was my whoop. Okay, cool. Yeah, so yeah, that was sort of my so once I sorted that out, I had random freezing issues in VR, which triggered me to go, oh wait a minute, maybe it isn't fucking Cyberpunk. What do I want? I want some heatsink goo. I know I've got some here. That's the unopened one. Where is the one that is open? Clint, where is my open tube of thermal grease? Come on, tell me. Where is it? Ah, come on, Clint, you should know. Jesus Christ. An engineer by... How'd they end up shoehorning you into that? You actually said, sure, I can do that one too many times, didn't you? So that's how it usually happens. Got knocked off the shelf. Can't see it down there, so where? Oh, guess I'll just open up a new tube. Pure sales. Are you doing still do it? When you say you're doing sales, you're doing the IT sales now. No, I'm not gonna fucking touch that little beehive. Too many thoughts got onto that, and they're watching it um, quite vigorously, shall we say. There you were, going into something different from IT. And now you're just back doing IT. Yeah, well, you know, they're cracking down on hot tub streams as well, I believe. One's an everyone. Come on, get in there. Threads. No, there may be some. If you're looking for something a little bit more like maybe internal sales shit, saying internal sales and sort of procurement type stuff, I could put in a word for you. I'm sure that there will be many people in the office who would. You wanted something a bit different. Oh, they're there. I'll flick you a message offline. Right, so that's that. Not ideal. It's not the best cooler for the CPU, but it'll do. It'll do what I need it to do. So let's get this drive cage out of here. Ha! Depends who's saying it. They may actually know me well, and in that case, probably best to believe them. Especially when they talk about that thing I do with my tongue. Alright, so this I need to get in there. I mean, you're not going there? Oh, why not? You didn't complain last time you went there. Did you pick up the most recent Humble Bundle? It had, what's it called? Ghost Recon Wildlands, if you didn't already have it. Ha! I don't know, you'd have to quickly check. I believe so, I think they just added DLC, because one of the other games in the bundle is, what's it called? Kingdom Come Deliverance. But yeah, if you pick up Wildlands and install it, I'm happy to have another crack at that game in co-op. It's a lot of good fun. Just utter chaos. Well, when you play with people like me, anyway. So tell me, do you recognise the music is playing right now? Yeah, GTX 970 and 4790K will be fine. Ah! Good memory. Yes, it is Wolfenstein. Yeah, real Wolfenstein, not like that bullshit that they've put out recently. You know, fucking, was it New Blood or whatever it is? And hey, we got our first ban victim of the night. Yeah, I don't know if you played it, but that they had this god awful abomination. I think it was New Blood or whatever. It was essentially a co-op modern Wolfenstein game. And it was just terrible. It was actually when I went to PAX in, what was it, 2018, I think it was. It was actually the game that one of the games they were using to demonstrate RTX. But it was one of the ones we weren't allowed to film or record, but they let us record Minecraft. Not gonna lie, still think I think the only good implementations of of ray tracing so far have been I think you'll be waiting a while. The only good uses of ray tracing have been Minecraft and what was the other one? And Cyberpunk. All of the others have been garbage. And the only way that ray tracing actually works, even with a 2080 Ti, is if you've got DLSS running, which makes it look garbage. It's actually, before I screw that in, let's take our time to HD LED. Oh, where's my phone? In my pocket. I'm sure I showed you ray tracing on my PC at one of the LAN parties. Pretty sure I've shown you Quake 2 at least. Macro. That's what I wanted. Well, I would have shown you Battlefield 5, but that would have meant, you know, finding a way to run it at a frame rate beyond the slideshow. Because without running DLSS, it's just not viable. Okay, so what do we get? Okay, so HDD LED is that's power LED. CD LED. Set switch is that one. Power switch is that one. This is power LED. It's that one. Cool. Alright, well, enjoy whatever you're going to do that's, you know, not talking to me. Enjoy abandoning me and leaving me here alone. This is getting stuck on. Ah. Well, that is an issue. Oh, that's going to be annoying as fuck to get in. Well, hope I do not have to remove this thing anytime soon. Yeah, well, we'll see. Given the recent lockdowns in New South Wales, I might actually be working from home soon. We'll see. Anyway, catch you later. Lint. So, 10 o'clock. Jeez, that's early. Let's see what I can do about plugging this in. This one. Where's the other? There it is. Right, yes. Yeah. Yeah. It's down there. So, what do we got? I need to make some decisions here. Now, technically, I don't need a graphics card. Because it's a headless machine, but I do want graphics. for a couple of things. So, what I'm going to stick in this machine is this. This is an external HBA. So this go into this slot. Yeah. It's one. But yeah, so I'm going to stick this card in here. Now one thing I'm going to probably do with this system is pick up a 1x PCI Express network card. Because I want to stick some additional network ports into this server. Something a bit faster. Anyway, so that's that. Rightio, so that's that. Now let's get some power and a monitor happening. Oh, there is one more item I'm going to add to this machine. Okay, let's get the monitor powered up. Actually, what I will do before I do that get some more Sound Blast music going. we go. So. Keyboard is on. Yeah, plug the video card in. And we have power. Right, power off. So I forgot something. Right. To get everything plugged in, I forgot to plug in the fan. Cool. Now, before I do anything else, this machine needs an additional 16 gig of RAM. Bringing the total in this machine up to 48 gigabytes, I believe. So, let's this webcam around. Yeah, so there we go. Hey, F1 to run setup. Come on. Okay, plug that into that one instead. And we'll turn the keyboard off and back on again. F1. Come on, keyboard. We have no keyboard. I'm wondering if it's just batteries. Let's grab another keyboard that does not rely on the batteries. Hey, there we go. Do we at least have a mouse? Yep, okay, so that's just a thing. So hard drives are detected. SSDs detected. 48 gig of RAM is detected. Actually, what we got here? What's that? System status. Do we have any temperature values? TMI. Oh. Okay. Save changes and reboot. Yep. There we go. So. So I actually want see if this bitch boots up. I have to set the RAM to a slower speed. Okay, so it looks like we will have to do it. Oh no, maybe. Yeah. Let's go in. So. Okay. So DRAM setting. Let's go 2933. Day settings reboot. Yes. So I believe this 16 gig RAM stick is only a 3000 megahertz set, which yes it is. So we're probably trying to overclock it there. Yada yada yada. This is looking promising. Very promising. So once this finishes booting up, I'm going to actually shut it down. Actually, once it's finished booting up, I'm going to reboot and go into the BIOS. And then I'm going to set the fans to max speed. And looking at that, I may need to even cut the RAM speed down a bit. Actually, pay attention to what thing I plugged it into. Let's do that, shall we? So that is in Sysfan 2. Right, confirm that it boots into Windows. No, not Windows, into VMware. Oh, I forgot something. Oh well. go. So. So while this is booting up, that's finished booting up. What I need to do is stick heatsink mounting back onto this motherboard. Which will make it very easy. Stick another Noctua cooler on this thing. If you're enjoying the music, hey Somerset, if you're enjoying the music, it's a compilation of Sound Blaster music made up by my friend Anatoly, the DOS Nostalgic. If you like your DOS games, I do recommend checking him out on YouTube, and more importantly, his DOS Nostalgia website, where he has a podcast, of which I have actually been a guest on at one point. I haven't got to the servers yet. I ended up getting 3 servers and 2 CNs, so I'm just finishing up what I'm doing on this server right here. I'm just actually about to go AFK to go put it in the rack quickly. I'm not going to actually bolt it into the rack, I'm just going to sit it in on the rack and have her all hooked up and powered up so she can do things. I just want to quickly check. So 192.68 dot 11. So I'm just going to check if this has detected the Where is Safari? Safari. Fine, we opened it in Safari. Yes, I'm sure I want to visit the website. It's a fucking VMware box. Okay, so root. I would show you what I'm doing at the moment, but I'm actually not on my main PC, so. Rightio, so manage the host, actually go storage, adapters. All 12 gigabit SAS HBA. Excellent. That makes it much nicer. Cool. And the host, just to confirm, is being detected with 48 gig of RAM. Good O. Is it option? Command? No. Control? Yep, control. Right, shut down. So what I've done so far is I have moved the hardware from a regular computer case to a rack mount case for my Ryzen 2700X server. The next step will be I'm going to put this in the rack quickly and firing it back up. Then once that's in a rack and fired up and running, I'm going to actually start going through some of the new servers I got. So just bear with me while I go quickly rack up this server. Rightio. And I have returned. Rightio. Rightio, let's talk controller cards. So I have two controller cards here. This one here. This is a Dell 12 gigabit HBA, which is essentially a hard drive controller. Well, unlike sort of like SATA, you got SATA 3, which is 6 gigabit, I believe. This is a 12 gigabit thing, but it's got 2 ports, so effectively 12 gigabits of bandwidth. Now this card is used to connect to external SAS controllers, whether it be just a disk shelf, which is basically just a physical link, so it passes through all of the disks in that shelf through to the controller. And that controller just sees it all as individual disks. Now, why you'd want that is if you were running software RAID, like something like FreeNAS or Unraid or whatever, they want you to pass those disks through as individual disks, so it can configure the RAID for them. The other thing you would use this HBA for is to connect to a SAN, which is a storage area network. So, which, if you hadn't guessed, sorry, I'm moving servers around a little bit. If you hadn't guessed, that's exactly what one of the devices that I picked up is, a SAN. But that'll be the last one we look at, purely because it's the heaviest and it's also on the bottom of the pile. So that's what's coming up, but we're gonna get through the others first. So, right, what else I have here? So I'll just make sure. Just make sure that machine's come back. So hopefully it's booted up. Which it doesn't look like it has. Okay, I'm going to have to address that at some point. Cool. Anyway, so that's the HBA used for connecting to storage devices. Now, the other thing I've got here, the other controller card here is a network adapter. Now, this is a 4-port network adapter, and it is actually capable of 10 gigabit. Now it uses what's called an SFP Plus connector. That SFP Plus connector is what you use for mainly fiber. So you'll have a fiber link. You can also get direct attached copper cables if you want to send the data across short runs. Or you can use SFP to twisted pair adapters, which enable you to plug in a network cable. Now, I do intend at some point to actually stick this card into that server that I just went and put in the rack. Reason for that is that I plan to get a 10 gigabit switch, and I will be getting some fiber patch leads to link them all up. Now I picked this up cheap. Thank you, eBay. Picked it up for about 30 bucks, which was, even for a second-hand bit of gear like that, it was pretty damn cheap. So I was very, very stoked to pick that up. Rightio, so we're onto the servers. Actually, before we get onto the servers, I'll just quickly show you what a SAS cable external SAS cable looks like. So internally, a SAS connector looks very, very similar to a SATA cable with power integrated into the same connector. It uses the same connector, except instead of having a gap between the power and the data cables, it actually has a bit of plastic there that stops you being able to plug SATA controllers into SAS drives. Now, this right here is a SAS cable. So, hoping you can see that okay. Yep, so basically has two of those connectors on each end, or one of those connectors on each end. Has two cables, and that's a 12 gigabit connection. G'day, Mr. Hooden. You've arrived just in time for the good stuff. So we just went over some external controllers. And welcome Liz as well. So, as you may probably know, I picked up some servers recently. What we have here is one of the servers I've got. This is a Dell R640. No, Mr. Hooden, you came here at the right time. I'm not finishing up. I'm just starting on the good stuff. So I picked up I moved some hardware from one case to another and put that back in the rack. Actually, I'm just going to quickly check and see if it's actually just taken its time to boot up. Nope, doesn't look like it. Yeah, cool. So, this is one of the 3 servers and 2 SANs that I got. So I'm going to be showing 2 of the servers and 1 of the SANs. Basically because SANs weigh an absolute ton and I don't want to lift both of them. So this server, it's what's called a 1RU server. So 1 rack unit, which is just, what is it, 1.75 inches or something like that. So in centimeters, that's about 4 centimeters. So it's about 4 centimeters thick. The server is about 71 centimeters long, but you know, once all is said and done, to be able to put it in a rack, you need at least 800 millimeters, at least. So I need a 1 meter deep rack to rack this up. So at the moment I've got the other one of these sitting on top of my server rack while I'm waiting to get another one that's actually deep enough for me to rack mount it. So this server here is the Dell R640. Is Dell's 1RU version of their general used for everything stuff. So basically it's a server that depending on what specs you give it is designed to do anything you need it to do. You can stick a video card in this, although the next server I'm going to show off is more suited for that. It's currently configured with two 240 gig SSDs, two 16 gigabyte SD cards. It has a HBA, so two external HBA ports, 12 gigabit for connecting to external storage. It has two 8-core 16-thread 3.2 gigahertz base clock. I think it's 3.7 gigahertz, 3.8 gigahertz boost processors. So 16 cores, 32 threads all up. And this server currently has 192 gigabytes of RAM in it. So that is what she looks like inside. Feel free to ask any questions you'd like. Happy to answer as best as I can. But a couple of things about Dell. So they have a number of things. You'll see there's a whole heap of things like those clips, these little marks there, these clips over here. Anything over here that's blue, you have to turn the power off. I believe it is. I think it's blue to turn. You have to have the power off. Orange, you can take it out while it's running. So now I won't be taking out the processors, but you got two processors here and here. You got, what's that? 8 fans, tiny little things. Wait. 8 little fans that spin up to stupidly high RPM when they need to cool stuff. Now, when I was initially looking at these servers, when I was initially trying to purchase them, orange can be hot swapped, blue cannot. You have to shut down the server to shut it down if it's blue. So the fans can be hot swapped, and anything that's blue you need to shut down the server to do. So obviously you can't hot swap CPUs, you can't hot swap the motherboard, obviously you can't put in any external controller cards or anything like that. So RAM you can't hot swap. You've got to shut down the server to do the RAM. Now, you'll notice there's two power supplies here. They're actually hot swap. Two of them, so if one set power supply fails, you can pull it out, replace it with a working unit, and not have any downtime at all. Now, Here you'll notice there's slots. I believe that's for potentially. I actually don't know what all the slots in this do. I just realised that. It's been so long since I've actually had to play with one of these. Yeah. Anyway, so the 3 32 gig sticks of RAM per CPU. The CPUs have, I believe it is, triple channel memory. So ideal configurations is 3 or 6 or fully populated RAM. So each server has its own set of RAM. The CPUs can talk to each other's RAM, but it's not as quick. There's a latency there because it has to talk to the other processor to tell it what's in the RAM. Now, when I got these servers, I was worried that these 1RU servers, so I got 2 of the 1RU servers, I got a single 2RU server, so it's twice as thick as this one. And I got a SAN which is 3RU. And then another SAN which is, I believe, also 3RU. I was worried that only the 2RU server, because it's got bigger fans, thus, in theory, should be quieter. I was worried that it would be the only one that I could actually use where my current servers are currently located. Turns out I was wrong. The 1RU servers actually have turned out to be much, much quieter under my usage case than the 2RU server. Right, this is what the inside of the servers looks. So 192 gig of RAM, which is, what's that? 32, 64, 96. It's got to be more than that. What is it? I don't remember. Actually, let's have a look at one of these sticks of RAM. So yeah, 32 gig sticks of RAM. Aren't we? So each one of those sticks has probably got more RAM than most people's main PC. So I've actually got one of these servers in my server cabinet at the moment running, and it's running the Minecraft servers. It's actually running. I've actually moved the Fazikins community server to my home servers. So now it's just the Wild SMP public server that's running on the hosted hardware at the moment. And then I've got an IL2 server running on the hosted server at the moment. My fiber the actual fiber itself was installed in my place on Friday. I'm just waiting on them to send someone out to terminate the fiber, so basically put ends on the fiber and so that can be plugged in, and then to supply the equipment for me to plug in, and I will have my fiber connection at home soon, which I'm quite excited about. So, server at the front of the server, which you cannot see, and I don't really have a good way to show you, but let's see what I can do with this. I apologize for what's about to happen to your eyeballs. Okay, so at the front of the server we've got the two 240 gig SATA drives, and there's an additional 6 drive bay things. So tiny little power button over here. Now this is usually covered by this cover, which also has a little LCD screen in it there. So really sorry for the shaky cam. But, you can't really see it, but there is an LCD screen that just gives you some information, tells you the serial, like the serial number of the server and whatnot, and if there's any faults, it'll tell you what's going on with it. Oh yeah, so so that's what's in the server. So I've got 2 of these, so massive amount of RAM, 2 times 96 gigs of RAM. It's 96 gigs per CPU, 192 gig in total. Over here, this is a RAID controller. This controls the SATA drives in here. And so we got this card here, which you can see. It has 2 SD cards in it. Now that's for running operating systems like VMware, which is a hypervisor. And a hypervisor is what's used to run virtual machines. So basically, you use one piece of hardware and you essentially divide up the hardware via software to different installs of Windows or whatever other operating system you may want to run, and that allows you to run whatever operating system you want, multiple installs of operating systems on one piece of hardware. Means that you're not wasting hardware on having a whole server just sitting there twiddling its thumbs. You can actually have it doing multiple different things. So then we have under here, we have a can I do this? Maybe. Yeah. Oh yeah. So under here we have a HBA, which is a drive controller. It's designed to be no tools required to remove them. And you'll see on here there's a lot of things like there's a USB port here and things like that on the board, so you can just plug things in. Okay, so looking at that, there's 2 SATA ports there, which are mini SATA, not regular SATA. For reasons I'm hoping you can see. Anyone got any questions? Because I'm failing to find words to explain anything more. It's fairly standard. Yeah, it's essentially a very specialized computer designed to go into racks, many things. So, I'll talk about racks a little bit. So, this is what's called a rack mount server. They're designed to load up onto rails that attach to the side, and they slide into a rack. Usual sizes are 42 rack unit or 48 rack unit racks. So you've got this server, which is 1 RU. You could technically fit 48 of them into a 48U rack. I wouldn't want to do that because there's other stuff you would want to have in there. But if you've ever seen pictures of a data center, these are the kinds of things that they stick in there. The reason they go with it 1RU form factor is because you can densely pack a server, a data center, with a lot of these servers and get a huge amount of processing power in a small space. So we'll get this one moved out of the way. And if you heard me groan there, yes, it really is that heavy. It's a lot of server in not a lot of space. That fat and unfit, which doesn't help. Oh, whoops. I nearly forgot to put it back together properly. One of the first things I pulled off, so yeah. So the servers have very specific airflow design, so to make sure that all the components are properly cooled. If you don't put all the plastic back in, the fans will ramp up and get really loud. Rightio. So, next server is the one that I thought I would be using mainly, but in the end turned out to be too loud for what I wanted to use it for. So, actually, I'll turn it round. Actually, let's give you I'll try. Get you to have a look at the back of the server. Okay, so back you can see, hopefully this is properly in camera. Cool, it is. Right, so here you've got the iDRAC, which is the integrated remote access controller that allows you to turn the server on and off remotely. Allows you to basically do a whole heap of configuration and not have to actually be physically at the server. Right, so we got a serial port, a VGA port, so you can see what's on the screen if you want. A couple of USB ports. Now these two are 10 gigabit Ethernet ports. They're SFP plus ports, so you get different modules in them to be able to connect it to things. And then you've got two 1 gigabit Ethernet connections, and then we've got two hot swaps power supplies. These are the same sort of power supply that's in the R6 the R640. So this is an R740 server, as I was mentioning before. Yeah, so this one's heavy. So this is, as I was saying before, a 2RU server. So it's basically twice as thick as the other one. And you'll notice it's a bit of a different configuration as well. So you've got a whole lot of heat shrouds here to direct the airflow. You've got a lot more space for external cards. Specifically, I could stick video cards in this if I wanted. And what I can do is I can actually put video cards in this and pass it through to any virtual machines running on this. So I could have it running virtual machines for people to play video games on. if I wanted. The processors in this and the configuration of this is not really suited to that task, but if I replace the processors in this with different model processors, I could. So this one has, again, two 8-core 16-thread processors, but these ones are clocked at 2.1 gigahertz. So not very fast, aimed more at the task it was used. This server was used as a backup server. Its primary job was to run backup software and store backups, and then also send those backups to a tape drive. Now, the HBA that I was showing earlier, which is here. Now, actually had two of these in it. I've taken one of those out because the usage case that I'm going to be using this server for does not require two of them. It only requires one. And then mainly what I'll be using this for is, once again, backups, but I'm going to be configuring the backups differently because I don't have the tape drive that this was using to back up to for offsite backups. I don't need that. This will be set up and used to back up VMs directly to the hard drives on this. So this is actually loaded with two 240 gig NVMe SSDs in what's called RAID 1, which is mirroring. So whatever's on this drive is mirrored on that drive. The reason for that is if one of those two drives dies, it'll keep running and then I'll be able to replace that drive. The downside to the configuration that this is while I wouldn't lose any data if one of these two drives died, I can't hot swap that drive. I can't pull that drive out and replace it with another drive to get back up and running with full redundancy. It's not really a problem with this server because it doesn't need full uptime. But yeah, just something to consider. We have a RAID controller here. So this is a higher end RAID controller than what's on the other server. Now that RAID controller is actually running 5 8 terabyte drives. So this has a lot of storage space. So this is one of the hard drives, and if you have a look there, it looks like a regular hard drive, except instead of having a gap between the power and the data sections, it's got solid plastic, which prevents you from plugging into a SATA controller. But you can plug a SATA drive into this and it will work, because the RAID controller can read not only SAS drives, which is serial attached SCSI, but it also can read the serial ATA drives, so SATA drives that you'd have in your regular computer, which can make for some very cheap upgrades if I want to get a whole lot of storage space. So this server is only configured with 64 gig of RAM, so 32 gigabytes of RAM per CPU. CPUs, as I said before, 2.1 gigahertz, 8-core 16-thread processors, two of them. Once again, we have hot swap fans, larger and in theory, supposedly quieter. This server is so much louder than the other servers. I am going to actually be installing. Come on. Going to actually be installing the HBA in this server. There we go. So this server is going to be primarily used to back up all my other servers when I've got a rack big enough to put it in, and some soundproofing to make it quiet. Now, I mentioned earlier that about this server being too loud for my uses, at least my planned usage. Well, I'm going to actually fire the server up in a second so you can actually hear it. So so I don't know how well this will come through my microphone, but well, you'll know. That's that. Okay. Cable. So we will plug into oh. Rightio. So probably can't hear it at the moment. A render server. When I found out I couldn't hear myself thinking up the yeah. I am not surprised. This is not quite at the level of a render server, but I don't know if that's coming through. Because I have quite a heavy noise filter on my mic, but can you hear that? Okay, well, yeah, well, okay, it's not only you watching it, dude. So it does quieten down, but it's still too loud to be bearable. At least for my uses, anyway. So that's see my server room is located underneath my stairs, and the entrance to it is actually in my bedroom. So naturally, I have absolutely no interest in having this one running while I'm trying to sleep. So I'm awaiting some soundproofing materials to soundproof my server room. Just to give you an idea of how actually loud this is when it winds itself up, I can't hear the vacuum cleaner over this server. Alright, so the next one that I'm going to look at, I'm actually going to change to horrible shaky cam view. Because Oh, I had heard a tearing sound. I was terrified I'd actually torn my pants with the server. Rightio. So, this next one is this. It's a... Hopefully I'm pointing the camera in the right spot. Yeah, there we go. It's a Dell EMC SCV3020. This is not actually a server, although it does contain server parts in it. This is a SAN. We have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 480 gig SAS SSDs, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 1.8 terabyte, 10,000 RPM SAS drives. These drives, where is it? Right. So they look like it's just a regular old hard drive. They spin at 10,000 RPM. Now most consumer hard drives spin at either 5,400 RPM or 7,200 RPM. Sizes tend to be smaller, but these are designed to run for 24/7, 7 days a week for years at a time. God, what's happened to that there? That's... see, it's broken. Okay, let's... bear with me. Just realise that this appears to be damaged. Great. There we go. Okay, that was just me. It clipped back in. Cool. Wonder how that happened. Anyway. So how this works is you can attach it via either a protocol called iSCSI, which is SCSI over Ethernet, or SCSI over IP, actually. So bear with me as I spin this around. This thing is truly heavy, with all those drives in it. So, just wait for the stream to catch up so I can see what I'm looking at. Cool. So, you can see over in the corner there, there's one of the two power supplies. The power supplies actually contained fans as well. Now here we have two management controllers. Now these management controllers are essentially servers themselves. This one has 4 12 gigabit SAS ports and another 2 12 gigabit SAS ports there. And then it has 4 SFP plus ports, which do 10 gigabit each. So that's 40 gigabit of bandwidth via iSCSI. Or, what's that? 12, 40, 12, 44. No, 4 times 12 gigabit of direct attached now, and that's per controller. Now, there's a couple of reasons why you'd want to go direct attached over iSCSI. So direct attached over direct attached storage. Thank you. That was it. Maths is not my forte, especially not at 11:30 p.m. on a Saturday night. So SAS is lower latency and you get more bandwidth. The problem is that you need to have the servers within cable distance of this. So basically, you have to have the servers, stacked in the rack above or below this disk shelf, essentially, or this SAN, to be able to connect to it and use it. iSCSI, it runs over Ethernet, or IP, so you can connect that to a switch, and then theoretically have the servers in a completely different location connected to the SAN. I will initially be setting this up once I've got soundproofing with the direct attached SAS to 4 servers, so 2 of the R640s, the first one that we looked at, one of the R740s, which we just looked at, and then my existing Ryzen 2700X server. The plan being to use this as a storage device for all servers. Once I've worked out how to actually manage and use this the storage thing, because this doesn't work quite like a standard SAN. You don't create a RAID array and then share that RAID array. You actually actually tell it how much space you want to allocate to each server, and it does it all itself. It configures it and whatnot. It's a little bit for me to get my head around. Now, I mentioned that these controllers are essentially servers themselves. So let's switch cams. So what we have here is one of the controllers for the SAN. You can see this is essentially, not exactly, but it is essentially a blade server. Now, blade servers are designed to go into enclosures that hold, if in the case of the Dell Vertex system, you have like 4 blades, which are about this size, that go into a single, maybe a bit smaller, into a single enclosure. Plus, it also has a disk controller, and it has a built-in SAN, so it's essentially a data center in a box. Or you can get blade centers which hold 12 of these style kind of machines, and then those 12 machines all connect to a separate storage device. And so how does this go again? I believe it's 2 screws. That's right. So this is essentially a server that's specialized in running and controlling that disk array. Running very specialized software to do that. You can see there, You got RAM here, which you may not be able to see, but I'll toss it up a bit. So you got 2 sticks of RAM there, which is 2 8 gig sticks, 16 gig of RAM. You got a processor here, which is, I believe, a 8-core processor, maybe? No, 6-core processor, 12 threads at 1.7 gigahertz. It's not a threading processor. Over here we have a battery backup, which holds the configuration. And if the power cuts out, it has the data and sends it to and stores the data until the power comes back on, or uses its power to write to the drives. But apart from the specialized software and specialized device, this is essentially just a regular server. But it's got 2 of these in this rack. It has all of the network connections, so we have the external HBA controller for 4-port instead of 2-port like the other ones I was showing earlier. We have underneath it the iSCSI controller, which is essentially a network card. Can pull this out. Okay, no, I can't easily get that out. And we can actually put, in theory, there's room to put an additional card here, but this particular controller is not configured from the factory. So while it's got the riser card to do it, the riser card has no connections and no ports. But the higher end models of this enclosure actually include more connections. There you go. And that essentially is a RAID control. Oh, one more thing there. On here we've got a management port. So that, unlike the remote access controller ports, that doesn't work the same. You actually are required to run the specialized software. And otherwise it doesn't run. So let's roll over this way, and I will quickly desktop stream radio. So okay, I'm going to close that. That's that. So I'm just gonna close that. New window. Okay, so actually what I'll do, drag this down here, put up on the other monitor instead. I just realized my music had stopped playing. Cool.
Testing. 16-bit testing.
Cool. There we go. Music going again. Right, so if we please play 2. There you go. There we go. 1.2.68.1. 51. Cool. Okay, so rightio, so you should be able to see my screen now. So this is when I mentioned the remote access controller. You can see this is what you get when you're accessing the server remotely. You can see information about the system, what operating system is running, the version, the service tag, which is the serial number, firmware information. We got the MAC address of the iDRAC. You can see it says chassis was open while power is on. We can view those logs. So it whinged because I opened up the lid. So I'll close that off. Back to dashboard. We can do things like we can shut it down, reboot it, whatnot. We're not going to do that because it's actually running. It's running some servers. We have a summary of the system. So what parts are in it, how much power it's using, which even though this server's running all of my virtual machines, it's using 132 watts at the moment. Average is 153 watts, which is not a whole lot considering. You can see what power usage it's used. So since the server was purchased, it's used 6,302 kilowatts of power. That's for just over 3 years or so. I'm not going to be giving it anywhere near as much of a hard time as the former owners of these servers. So we got some more details. Tells you what information about the servers and whatnot. Inventory, which tells you what all the parts of the servers are. Hardware inventory as well. We can see CPU. Gives you all the details that you don't really care about the processor. So current clock speed 3.2 gigahertz. So say an Intel Xeon Gold 6134 CPU. 3.2 gigahertz. It can boost up, but it probably won't with the load I've got it on at the moment. You can see I'm currently using 3% of the CPU. I'm giving it a hard time, as you can see. Using 1% of the RAM on the server. It's very, very light load. Now, one of the things you can do on it here is this thing here called a virtual console. What we can do is we can actually connect to the server. You can see it's running VMware ESXi. We can log on to it. And do some configuration for the operating system. This is as if we were plugging a keyboard and mouse into the server, but this server is actually in a completely different room of this house, and I'm nowhere near it. You can do what's called connect virtual media, so I can map a removable disk or an image for a CD or a DVD, so I can remotely install Windows or whatever operating system on the bare metal hardware remotely. I could actually do this over the internet if I wanted. But that's what it is. Now, if we go to we log in here, you'll see I've currently got 10 virtual machines on this host. One of those is turned off currently, which is a Windows 7 VM I ran up for some testing yesterday. You can see I've got the old SAN, which is currently turned off, which is what I was using the Windows 7 VM for to configure it. It's turned off, it's disconnected. I actually have to turn it back on tomorrow and remove it because I don't intend to actually use it. It's too loud, it's too old, and management's too difficult on it. So, but we've got my Synology NAS, which I'm using as shared storage. So multiple servers are actually connected to that. And it's not the fastest, but I plan to actually replace it with the SAN we were just looking at once I've got a server rack and soundproofing, because that SAN is actually quite loud, but very fast. And when I have it connected, I'll be able to actually have many virtual machines running off it, and it'll be quite nice. What I need. Very, very fast, a lot of storage, I think around 20 terabytes usable, possibly more. You can see this host here, we've got 118 gig of RAM allocated. We're using up about half of our storage. We're barely using the CPU. You can see a bit of information about what's going on the server. You can see I'm running IL-2 Flying Circus, DCS World, World of Warcraft, Wrath of the Lich King, MineOS, which is the Minecraft server. We got DCS World Open Beta. We got a Universal Media Server, which is what I use to transcode videos off my NAS to formats that the various media player devices like PlayStation 3 and WD TV Live and whatnot that's around the house, so family can watch things. We got a World of Warcraft vanilla server, so that's a 1.12.1 server, which if you're interested in playing on, I can shoot you a link to actually create yourself an account and download the client and whatnot. Then we've got a Valheim server. Now that I've got this server in place, once I've got the rack in, I'll be putting in the other servers. I'll be putting a whole heap of games up. I don't know what yet, but I'll have the server capacity to run it. I mean, I can run my entire server list off this single host, so I've got 2 of these servers and then other servers that are ready to go. Once the other servers are installed and configured and set up, I'll be actually able to move these virtual machines. So I'll fire up one of these just to give you an idea. Let's see, Open World Beta. So this is here running DCS World. This is running the Persian Gulf variable mission. Let's get it running Operation Clearfield. So that's it. There running that game. You can connect to it this way. I can also directly RDP into them. So, anyone got any questions? So, if there's no questions, I'm gonna actually end up winding up the stream because I'm gonna go quickly troubleshoot why the server that I just put in the rack is not booting up. And once I've troubleshooted that, I'll actually start moving virtual machines back onto that one, particularly the IL-2 Great Battles and Flying Circus servers, because they're the ones that need the higher speed processor. Now, the reason why I'm keeping my Ryzen-based server is because it's got a higher clock speed, and games like IL-2 are very dependent on a single core speed rather than multiple cores. Oh, well, in that case, hope you guys enjoyed the rambling poke and prod at some of my servers, and yeah, big things to come for Young Professionals servers. So if you have any games you'd like to see me hosting, just ping me a message and I can run up a virtual machine for it. Yeah. Anyway, I'll catch us later.